Hey everyone, I'm Joey with Joey's Balloon Company. Today I'm going to share with you how to build an outdoor balloon column when you don't have an indoor space to build. But in this unique situation, I'm delivering these two balloon columns to a park where I'm not going to have an indoor space with an electrical outlet to build. Therefore, I'm going to have to build these balloon columns at my house in separate sections so that they can fit in my car when I deliver them, which will make it easier for me to put together once I get there, instead of having to build everything on site outdoors, which is very difficult with the wind, outdoor elements. It could be raining. I don't know what the situation's going to be like. I might not have an electrical outlet. I'm going to play it safe and build this balloon decor in sections at my house so that I can transport it and then teach you guys how to set it up once we get to the event. For these two standard columns that we're making, the supplies you're going to need are an electric balloon inflator, monofilament line or fishing line, a pair of scissors, and of course your balloons. The decor I'm making are going to match a company's logo, and that's green, blue, and white. Building standard balloon columns, we put pieces together known as quads, and those require 4 different color balloons. In my case, the logo is only 3 colors, so we're going to double up on the most common color, which is white. So I'm going to need to make sure that I have double the amount of white that I have of blue and green. Here's a picture of where this is going to be set up. This is an outdoor pavilion with concrete flooring, so we're not going to want to place the balloons directly on the concrete for chances that they might rupture. We'll be attaching the balloon columns to the front 2 wooden posts of the pavilion to give it some stability. We'll be building these columns to about 7 feet tall and then adding a topper to it, which can either be a large latex balloon like a 24-inch or a 36-inch latex balloon, or a mylar balloon that's 32 to 40 inches. So that's what we're going for. Let's go ahead and get started on building these balloon column sections so that when we get there, it's just going to be easy to put those sections together and attach them to those posts of the pavilion. We have 3 steps to this process. The first step is inflating all of the balloons. The second step is putting all of those balloons together into quads, and the third step is putting those quads together into a column section. Before I start inflating the balloons, I've already counted out 10 green, 10 blue, and 20 white so that I don't have to count them after I've inflated. Counting them out beforehand just makes the process go a little bit smoother. If you're unfamiliar with using an electric balloon pump, the way this thing works is when you push down on this nozzle, it will inflate out of both of these nozzles. If this is your first time building balloon decor or using an electric inflator, you might just want to use the single nozzle. If you have a little bit more experience and want to try using both nozzles at the same time, it is a little bit faster, so it might be something that you try to get used to. I'm going to blow mine up 2 at a time, so I'm going to put my balloon on this nozzle first, where nothing happens if I push down on it. Another important thing to remember is what colors are going to be in my quad. For every single quad that I'm making, there's going to be 2 whites, a green, and a blue. So when I'm blowing these up together, I'm actually going to tie these balloons together as opposed to tying them off individually. This makes it a little bit faster, and you only have to tie 1 knot instead of 2 knots. So the important thing to remember here is if you're going to tie these off into doubles before you put them into quads, make sure that you're adding the same 2 color balloons to each other for the doubles. For me, I'm just going to add the 2 whites together, and then I'm going to add a blue and a green together for doubles. I'm going to blow these up until they're about 12 inches. So this is about the size that we want, and I'm going to go ahead and double knot these balloons together to make a double. You also need to double knot these in order for them to stay together. So there we go, that's our first double. For the rest of the balloons that I make, I'm going to want to make them pretty much the same exact size as these ones, about 12 inches. So I'm going to put these in front of me where I can see them so that I can measure each balloon that I'm inflating to make sure that they're about the same size as these. So if you noticed on that one of my nozzles was inflating a balloon a little bit faster than the other. This could be for a variety of reasons, but just keep an eye on the balloons as they're inflating, and if one's inflating faster, take it off the nozzle first and let your other one that's smaller keep inflating so that they remain the same size once you're finished. There's our second double. As a reminder, make sure all of the doubles that you're making are the same 2 colors being put together. This is going to make it a lot easier for you when you start to make your quads. 2 things happened on that one. I think there was a little hole in this balloon. This is just an important reminder to get extra balloons because balloons will pop. It's not a big deal, but it happens, so make sure that you have extras on hand. This one is a little bit pear-shaped, as you can see. I'm going to deflate it a little bit so that I do not see that pear shape anymore. And it's about 12 inches now. It was a little bit big that time. I'll blow up another blue one and tie these together. It's pretty self-explanatory once you get the basics down, so I'm just going to go ahead and inflate the rest of these, and then we'll get on to step 2. All of our balloons are now inflated. I just inflated 40 balloons in less than 10 minutes, and this is enough to build one balloon column. Each column is going to have 10 quads in it, and each quad contains 4 balloons, so that's 40 balloons. For this tutorial video, I'm only going to be building one column, so if you need to inflate more balloons to make a second balloon column, go ahead and do that now, and then put away your balloon inflator, and we'll move on to step 2. Step 2 is putting your doubles into quads. This is a pretty easy process. You just stick the middles together and twist around 2 of the top balloons a couple times, and there you go, you have a quad. You're going to need to do this with all of the balloons you just blew up, so make sure you add the whites to the blue and green ones so that you have the combination that you want. That's a quad that contains 2 whites, 1 green, and 1 blue. You don't want any quads with all white, or you don't want any quads with 2 greens and 2 blues, so make sure that you have the combination that you want. Go ahead and get started on putting your doubles into quads. This takes less than a minute or 2. It's going to take you a little bit more time if you inflated one balloon individually at a time. If that's the case, go ahead and make your doubles first, and then once you have your doubles, build those doubles into quads. Step 2 complete. That's the fastest step. Now we're going to orient these quads how we want them and start stacking them and attaching them with fishing line. The quads will naturally want to look like this molecule looking thing, but you're going to want to orient them so that they're flat, just like this, and you can do that by sticking a finger in between each balloon. That's the easiest way. You're going to want whites across from each other to separate the other 2 colors if you're only using 3 colors. Otherwise, make sure when you're building this to have the same colors across from each other. We're not going to need to add a weight to weigh down these balloon columns because the balloon columns are not actually going to be put on the cement. I don't want those balloons to pop on the cement. So when I get to the event, I'm actually going to hoist the balloon column up a little bit so that it's sitting off the ground, and I'll attach the balloon column to the wooden post of the pavilion using fishing line. To get started on step 3, we're going to need to tie the end of our fishing line to the middle of our first quad. Make sure to double or triple knot this fishing line onto this first quad because we are going to be pulling it taut as we build the balloon column and compress the quads on top of each other. A lot of times I'll use a fisherman's knot, which is just twisting the end of the monofilament around, and then after you twist it around 4 or 5 times, stick it through the hole in the bottom and pull it tight. That should make it nice and secure. Now that I have my first quad with the fishing line attached, I'm going to grab a second quad, make sure that it's oriented the exact same way as this first quad, and then I'm going to stack it on top. When I have my second quad oriented the same way as my first quad, I'm going to turn it to the left or to the right and let the balloons of the second quad sit in the crevices of the first quad. I'm going to bring my monofilament up through the middle. I'm going to bring the fishing line down to below the first quad. I'm going to wrap it around 2 balloons. So I brought it on this side, 1, 2, and I will bring it up again on this side. I'm pushing down on this second quad to compress it so that it's nice and tight, and that when I pull this fishing string tight, we're going to have a nice sturdy column instead of it being all loose. We're going to need to do 2 wraparounds of this fishing line to make sure that it stays tight. So I usually turn my balloon column about 90 degrees, and then I'll go ahead and do the exact same thing where I bring it on one side and I'll cross under 2 balloons, 1, 2, and bring it up. Pull it tight. As you can see, this is the beginning of our spiral pattern where all of our balloons are going to be going up and to the right. This is very, very important. When you build your column in sections, make sure that your spiral is always going in the same direction. So if you start building and it's going up and to the right, continue building every single section going up and to the right, or else they're going to change direction when you try to put them together. Okay, now it's time to add a third quad. Orient your third quad so that it lines up with your second quad, and then twist it in the same direction to continue that spiral in the same direction. Pull the monofilament up through the middle, and this time when we wrap around, we won't need to go all the way back down to the bottom. We're just going to need to go under the quad that's underneath. So we're going to need to go down 2 layers. 1, 2. We'll bring this down, cross over 2 balloons. 1, 2. And pull it back up. Remember, I'm pushing down in the middle to compress these quads on top of each other to make them super tight. I'm going to turn the balloon column about 90 degrees and do the same thing where I'm only going down 2 layers. and then I'll cross under 2 balloons. 1, 2. So here's our 4th quad. Orient it the same as the 3rd quad. Twist it in the same direction to make it sit in the crevice and make sure that spiral is continuing in the same direction. We'll pull the monofilament up through the middle. And remember, we don't have to go all the way to the bottom of the column when we're attaching these. We just need to go down 2 layers. So this is 1 layer, this is the 2nd layer. So we will bring the monofilament down, pull it under 2 balloons, 1, 2, and pull it up through the middle again. Remember, I'm pushing down in the middle of this quad to make sure that it stays tight. I'll turn the column 90 degrees so that my monofilament isn't going in the exact same spot that I just did. And I will go down 2 layers and then go across 2 balloons, 1, 2. And then bring it back up through the middle. Here's our 5th quad. We're gonna make sure that it's in the same orientation as our 4th quad and make sure that we turn it the same exact way to make sure that spiral pattern is continuing in the same direction. Pull the monofilament up through the middle. We're going to attach this by going down 2 layers. This is 1 layer, this is another layer, so 1, 2. Then we're gonna go under 2 balloons, 1, 2, and pull it back up through the middle. Turn the column 90 degrees so the monofilament is not going on the exact same path that it just went. Bring it down 2 layers, cross under 2 balloons, 1, 2, pull it up through the middle, and that right there is going to be our first section that we'll be building. So now we need to cut this fishing line, leave about 2 feet length of fishing line so that you have enough line to tie it off. What we're gonna do is I'm just gonna hold my finger right here as I wrap it around. You only need to go down 1 layer this time. So I'll just wrap it around 2 balloons under 1 layer. And then remember, I was holding this in a loop here, and I'm gonna stick the end of the fishing line through that loop that I was holding and pull it tight. And I'm gonna do this 1 other time. I'll turn my column 90 degrees so my monofilament isn't going in the same path. I'm gonna hold the line right here so that I can create a loop with it. Go under 1 layer, cross under 2 balloons, and stick the end of this monofilament through and pull it tight. So this is the first section of your balloon column. We're gonna leave the tail of this monofilament on here because we're gonna use this to attach this section to the next section once we get to our event. I would say leave 3 to 4 feet of length just so that you have enough fishing line to work with. It's a lot easier if you have more to work with. So this is the first section. This is 5 quads right here. If you're building 2 balloon columns, you're going to need 4 sections just like this. I'm only building 1 for this tutorial video, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started and finish up this second one real quick, and then I'm gonna teach you how to put together these sections at the event. If you're gaining anything useful from this tutorial, please hit the like button on this video and subscribe to our channel for some more balloon decor tutorials. We also offer balloon twisting tutorials if that's something you're interested in as well. So as you start building your second section, the 2 most important things to remember at this point is 1, the colors are oriented the same way that you built your first one, and 2, the spiral continues in the same direction. In order to make your life easier, whatever hand that you are using to wrap the monofilament around these balloons, keep the spool of monofilament on that side of this column, and it'll make your life a lot easier, and it will decrease your chances of getting tangled up somewhere. So we finished building our 2 sections for this first column. The last thing we need to do for prep work is to inflate our Mylar balloon or our large latex topper. The balloon pump I have has these little adapters that make the nozzle a bit skinnier, and we are gonna need that in order to get under the flap of this Mylar balloon. So what we're gonna need to do is make sure that we're getting under that orange flap right there. These are self-sealing Mylar balloons, so you won't need to seal it in any way, but you do need to make sure that you have an inflator skinny enough in order to get into this Mylar balloon. So you can also use like a straw, or I've taken apart pins before and used the skinny part of the pin in order to get air into this balloon. So be creative if you don't have exactly what you need. you will be able to find a solution. Just got to think about it. And as a disclaimer, this Mylar balloon is an 18-inch Mylar balloon. It's going to look really small on this column. So if you are building columns, I recommend getting a Mylar balloon that's 32 inches to 40 inches. All right, so that's our inflated Mylar balloon. Now what I'm gonna do is tie a piece of monofilament to the tab of this Mylar balloon. I'm gonna tie the fishing line in between the end and the inflator valve right here. And I'll just do the same type of knot where I twist it around a few times and then I stick the end back through the hole here and pull it tight. That seems to do a pretty good job. And then what you can do is pull this tight like that and just pull it down the line. And that usually stays pretty well. Now I'm gonna cut off about a 3 to 4 foot section of fishing line so that once we get to the event, it'll be easy to have this fishing line to attach the topper with. Okay, now we have prepared everything that we need in order to set up this balloon column. Remember, if you're doing 2 balloon columns, you're gonna have double the amount of supplies that I have here now. So now on the day of the event, all you have to do is put these sections in your car, drive to the event, and then put them together outside your car and bring them to wherever you need to be at. Now I'm gonna show you how to assemble these pieces together outside of your car so that you have a full balloon column when you're bringing it to where this needs to be set up. So let's say you just packed your car up, you drove over to the event, and you're ready to start getting set up. Find a place that's shady preferably, because sometimes the concrete can be hot and can pop the balloons. Bring a bed sheet so that you can put this outside of your car on the ground so that if the balloons touch the ground, it's not a big deal and they won't pop immediately on the asphalt. You'll take your first section and lay it down on the sheet and straddle it. You'll want to straddle it pretty close to the front of it. And then with your second section, make sure that you have access to that monofilament line. Line up the spiral so that they're going in the same direction. If you're using 4 colors and your spiral is not lining up right, you may have to flip the column around and attach it this way. I've seen that happen before, it's happened to me, but if you're using 4 colors, that can happen. With 3 colors, that doesn't happen because no matter which way you put it, you're able to orient it to make sure that they're oriented correctly. So what you're gonna do is grab your monofilament line from this section here. You're going to attach it to your first quad here on the section that you're straddling. Make sure that the spirals are lined up. Put your second hand into like the center part of this section and pull it towards you, and with your hand that's using the monofilament, you're going to wrap it around this first quad on the section that you're straddling and pull it tight as you're compressing with your other hand. Make sure to wrap your monofilament around 2 balloons on your quad on the section that you're straddling. Then you're going to pull your fishing line up and wrap it around 2 balloons on the first quad of this outside section here. And remember to keep compressing and keep pulling tight on your monofilament line. When you're done attaching these, stick your hands inside the center part of your column and tie the end of your monofilament line to the center part of a quad in here. This is a little bit tricky, but you're going to want to double or triple knot it because sometimes the monofilament comes loose and you don't want that happening. All right, so now we have a full column without a topper on it. You can stick the rest of this balloon in the back of your car and attach the topper to it. And you're basically going to do the same thing, just put the Mylar balloon in the center of your top quad here, pull it tight. You only have to attach it to this first quad right here. You can go down to the second quad, that's fine too. But you really only need to attach it to this first quad. My monofilament has been wrapped around and it's also coming out right here. So I can push on this Mylar and pull out with the monofilament, and that will make sure that this topper stays on tight. And now I'm gonna wrap it around a few other times and then knot it off. So once I've double or triple knotted this monofilament at the cross section of one of these quads in here, I can take my scissors, cut off the rest of this monofilament, or I can just stick it into the center of this column, and generally that will keep it hidden. So now you have a fully built column, and you're at your event, and you just need to bring it over to the pavilion where this post is. I recommend bringing your sheet over to where the post is of the pavilion and putting it at the base so that when you're setting up your balloon column and attaching it to that post, it minimizes your chance of balloons popping on the concrete below it. Attaching your balloon column to a post is a pretty simple process. You're gonna cut off a piece of about 8 feet of monofilament, set your column right up against a wooden post or another column, and then you're going to put the middle of your monofilament in through the front side of this column, and it will hit the other monofilament that's holding this column together. Then you're going to go around the back side of this wooden column and grab the 2 pieces of monofilament, pull them tight, and make a double knot. If you have something to put under the column, like a piece of cardboard or a sheet or a pillowcase or something, that's definitely recommended so that it's not sitting on concrete or stone or anything like that. So after you've set up your column, the very last thing you want to do before heading out is make sure the contact is happy with how this is set up. So ask your event contact, how does this look? Are there any adjustments that I can make to it while I'm here before I head out? This balloon column does not have an internal frame that we need to retrieve later, so we will not be coming back to this event. So you can let your event contact know that at the end of their event, they can take some scissors and pop all the balloons and tear it down themselves. In the event that you're building something with an internal frame or something that we need to retrieve later, ask your event contact when would be a good time after the event to come and retrieve what we need and tear down the balloon decor. That's it for this tutorial. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and learned something new. If you did get anything out of this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for some more balloon decor tutorials and balloon twisting tutorials. I'm Joey. Best wishes with your balloon decor build. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon.